Well, welcome to part two of four parts, really, that I'm calling Uncovering the Wisdom Jesus. He hasn't gone anywhere, but he's been sort of covered over, just like archaeological digs where, whole cities, whole cultures have been covered over by, well, the sands of time, who knows, war, whatever. So the wisdom Jesus is still here. Uh, and wisdom traditions are needed more than ever. So this is, I'm calling this series Uncovering the Wisdom of Jesus. And this is part two of four parts. The fourth part will be our Dancing with Spirit, our Saturday morning retreat, our extended sort of intensive meditation session. And uh, I'll be, we'll be working on just the master view of Jesus known as the Beatitudes. And I'm really looking forward to that. As kind of, I'm going to work with, three more spiritual hand grenades today, i.e., the three sayings from the Gospel of Thomas. These are spiritual hand grenades, but really all the Jesus teachings were even the four canonical Gospels. If you read them with the eye of the heart, if you listen to them with the eye of the heart, and if you have some context uh, to the world he was delivering these teachings into, you realize how he was just blowing up uh, the culture and the empire's view of what's important, what remains, what can't die. He was remarkable. Sister Bourgeot, who has a book on the wisdom of Jesus, which I would really recommend, she starts out one chapter talking about hearing a Baptist, Southern Baptist minister begin to talk about Jesus. And she, in his Texas drawl, he was from Texas, and he said, Jesus is nice, and he wants you to be nice too. And that was, she never got over hearing that Jesus was nice and he wants you to be nice too. Well, they don't crucify guys who are nice. I mean, they really don't, and, there's a whole way that we're still, whether you had grew up with no school, Sunday school, or Catholic school theology, um, it's too small. That's why we jettisoned a lot of us a long time ago. And you got to grow into something bigger. And that would be the wisdom of Jesus. So I do have a sense of what I'm doing today. I was running on total grace last time, just to try to deal with this guy that the wisdom of Jesus is just not easy. He defies the left brain organizational mind. But I have like a little two-part thing today that I think will be a good teaching. I'm going to give you three of the logion, three of the sayings, three more sayings from the Gospel of Thomas, which was unearthed. It was uncovered in, I think, 1945 in the deserts of Egypt, the Upper Nile, and it was like buried there for safekeeping by some Coptic monks, probably for, well, almost 20 centuries. And it's a miracle that we have it. It's a great grace that we have it. And plus, there's 51 other uh, bits of early wisdom teaching of Jesus that were buried to keep the imperial guys from burning them. See, we got into what we talked about in part one was how the wisdom of Jesus got sort of covered over when it was taken in by the empire and adopted and co-opted by the empire. They didn't co-opt it just because they were nice and they wanted to be nice. Empires are never nice because they're taking your stuff, but they knew there was a power in this movement. And so just like empires will do, just like corporations will gobble up other corporations, that are competing with them. the fact that Constantine co-opted the Jesus movement in the fourth century meant that it was getting so strong that they wanted to sort of co-opt it, and they did. And so uh, the Jesus movement that came to us, at least in the West, the Jesus movement went to the east, and it also went across North Africa, up through France and Galicia, and then over to the Scotland and Ireland. That whole Celtic Jesus movement has a different feel entirely. But most of us grew up in the West in the Roman version, whether it was Roman Catholic or Protestant, which was just the reaction to that. But they were all sort of in so much have been covered over. Well, today we're going to talk about another thing that covered over the way, if that wasn't enough. Yeah. But first, the wisdom. So this is Logion 3. And uh, if you want to get the notes, just the notes will have the three wisdom teachings from today, the three Logions in them, plus whatever else in the second part. So you can always send me an email at looseleafhollow@gmail.com, and I'll send you the notes from the day. Then you'll have text. So this is, and I've got it up on my screen, but it's smaller than I would like. So let me boost it up a little bit. I like typing it out because when you write things out, you sort of understand them better. I always write my poems by hand, or usually, and then actually as I put them on a computer, something happens when you're actually writing. So this is Logion 3. Yeshua says, Yeshua, by the way, if you're just dropping in, was a name that Jesus went by. Jesus is the Greek for Yeshua, and it, that the teachings were originally put down in Greek, although we have them in Aramaic as well, the language Jesus spoke. Yeshua says, if your spiritual guides say to you, look, the divine realm is in the sky, well then, the birds will get there ahead of you. If they say it's in the sea, then the fish will precede you. No, divine reality exists inside and all around you. Only when you have come to know your true self will you be fully known, realizing at last that you are a child of the living one. If, however, you never come to know who you truly are, you are a poverty-stricken being, and it is yourself which lies impoverished. That was Logion 3 of the 114 sayings of Jesus and Thomas. You couldn't really give that to kids in the fourth grade, but we're not kids in the fourth grade anymore. And neither were the adults that were listening to this. Here's Logion 8. Yeshua says, a true human being can be compared to a wise fisherman who casts his net into the sea and draws it up from below, full of small fish. Hidden among them is one large, exceptional fish that he seizes immediately, throwing back all the rest without a second thought. Whoever has ears, let them understand this. And then our third hand grenade here, Logion 17. Yeshua says, what your own eyes cannot see, your human ears do not hear, what your physical hands cannot touch, and what is inconceivable to the human mind, that is what I will give you. It's a short one. We'll listen to it again. Yeshua says, what your own eyes cannot see, your human ears do not hear, your physical hands cannot touch, and what is inconceivable to the human mind, that is what I will give you. Yeah. All right. I don't want to talk too much about those. If you want to actually sit them, meditate on them, I might refer back to them as we go into the meat of the second thing that's sort of covered over uh, the wisdom Jesus. That's pure wisdom Jesus right there. What is inconceivable to the human mind, that is what I will give you. We'll have another teacher pop in right now, T.S. Eliot, who's meditated on a lot of this stuff. He's one of my favorite poets, especially the four quartets. I carry them with me almost everywhere I go, and just dive into them when I go into the bathroom. It's a little book, so I can always have it with me and read a few stanzas. But this is key. Eliot said this: "Where is the wisdom? Lost in the knowledge. Where is the knowledge? Lost in the information." Those two lines say a lot. And this is the thing, Jesus is giving these people not answers, but he's giving them deep questions to ponder, and ponder them in the silence of your heart. And so Eliot gives us a couple of questions here. He says, where is the wisdom? Lost in the knowledge. And where is the knowledge? Lost in the information. You could, if he was living now, if Eliot was living now, he might have put a third line. Where is the information? Lost in my inbox. When I came back from the retreat, there was 338 emails there. It took me about 10 minutes to delete them all, and I ended up with 8 that actually I wanted to answer. The rest were, get $50 for this candidate or whatever. Where is the wisdom? Lost in the knowledge. That's exactly what we're going to talk about in part 2. Part 2 is the loss of the wisdom Jesus via, science at first, but actually the word, and a word that you don't hear much, I would say where the loss of the wisdom Jesus lost via scientism. It's one of these isms like communism, capitalism. It's a belief system when you add an ism to it. Materialism, it's a kind of belief system. Where is the wisdom Jesus lost in the scientism? So let me break that down a little bit for you, because you got to understand how we lost something like this. The 18th century, you got to go back there. We're in the 21st century, so we got a span of some time to look at. So this is a slow erosion. Civilizations or wisdom traditions don't get covered over quickly because they're major. The 18th century was in Europe anyway, we called it the Enlightenment. We discovered science, hooray! Penicillin. When we actually discovered penicillin, they realized that the 400-year-old Black Plague was not witchcraft, was not voodoo, was not, Jews or gypsies or, vagrants causing it. It was just a biological thing, and penicillin would wipe it out. They did that for 400 years. So hooray for science. That's not really the problem. The 18th century, though, was the time of the Enlightenment when they discovered science. Guys, came with guys looking at the in astronomy and realizing, oh, hey, the world's not flat and actually we revolve around the sun. That was a big shakeup. Galileo paid for that one. Kepler paid for that one. We're in a different. We're starting to dawn on us that that actually instruments like telescopes, primitive microscopes, uh, you know, uh, that they could show us things that the naked eye couldn't see. I mean, and that's what he's saying. I'm going to talk to you. Jesus is saying, I'm going to talk to you about those things your eyes can't see. Well, your eyes can't see the radio waves going through the room right now. Can't see the electromagnetic waves, can it? Can't see gravity, really. These are forces, though. And Jesus is was talking about, I'm going to show you these forces that the normal eye can't see. That's what wisdom does. Knowledge, science, scientia in Latin means knowing. It means knowledge. Hooray for that, because it was opening up stuff we couldn't see either. But it got up ahead of steam in the 18th century, and this is after uh, the Holy Roman Empire and the whole imperial church was starting. They had the Protestant Revolution. It got real defensive, and there was wars and all this kind of stuff. Uh, and when they discovered science, they're saying, "Hey, this is something I can believe in." This is going to help us, and it did. And so the scientific revolution science is good for dealing with the material universe, what you can see, what you can hold, what you can weigh, you see. And so we went full bore in that direction for about the last 300 years. Okay. And that's fine. Because that's survival mode stuff. We don't want to, vaccine. People. We still have like the kind of reactionary stuff from some real conservative traditions against things like of modern science, like vaccine, penicillin, this kind of stuff. We saw that and it was all messed up with politics, unfortunately. But so we got to remember we have a survival mode and we have a sacred mode. That's what it means to be a human being. To be a zombie or something, you could just have the survival mode. Okay. But to be a human being, you have both the survival mode. You wouldn't be here if you didn't survive. And then there's a sacred mode. Two modes. We're hybrid creatures. Well, the sacred mode sort of got pushed to the side and then eventually covered over. And so then we just had the survival mode, and science is great for that. But then science also gave us the atomic weapons. This is the boomerang effect. It gives us atomic weapons. Uh, guys cooking up meth in a lab. I mean, that's science. Well, I mean, so everything has two sides. It depends on if you don't have a sacred kind of heart to anchor your life, you can cook up meth and make a lot of money, and that's science. Hooray! Well, not really, based on the people who get it. You see, so science is knowledge. And science has to do with the left brain. It has to do with measurement. I used to put out outside of my junior high classroom before the parents came in to get the report cards. Everybody hated that kind of stuff. Parents, kids, they'd all come in and they'd give their report card, and the kid was under the spotlight, And I always put out this long, thin poem that said, "The mind that measures will never know God, nor even a single child." This sort of long, kind of 1 or 2 word thing outside my room, because people would queue up out there waiting to come in and see what grade they got. And so the mind that measures will never know God, nor even a single child. So the mind that measures is survival mode. Knowledge, left brain, transactional reality. Great. Okay. Now on the other side, the sacred mode is wisdom. So knowledge, wisdom, and that's of the heart. Something deeper, the sacred heart, not the physical heart, but the physical heart is wired into that. Heart math, these guys who have studied the heart, physical heart, it's doing a terrific amount in service of wisdom. But wisdom is of the heart and it's about transformation. So we got this one part of us, science and knowledge, that is about transactional reality, staying alive. Okay. Putting a roof over your head. So that's all important stuff. But the wisdom tradition is focused on the heart and it's about transformation. Now, in a couple of weeks, when we look at the Beatitudes, Jesus will be sketching out how a human being can become transformed. I never saw that growing up. Most Catholics couldn't name the eight Beatitudes in Matthew, nor the order. There's transformation has, it's like evolution, it has an order. And these aren't just random stuff that Jesus was pulling out of the air. Uh, it was a sequential order of how a life, carbon life form like us can actually become a human being, can actually live into the sacredness of who we are, you see. And so the scientific method is brilliant. Scientism and the materialism that it spawned, you know, that's deadly, has been deadly to the sacred dimension of life, of both human beings and the planet. We got all these satellites up there telling us where the resources are. And well, the hell with the poor people who live there. Massacre them, get them out of the way, take their land. We're doing this. It's just like the whole planet is our colony now, and we can just take raw materials out of it, you see. And so that's materialism, that's scientism. It's not science is beautiful, but when you make it into a belief that only science has the truth, science has part of the truth. We didn't understand what was going on with the Black Death. So the eye of knowledge got opened up by science. But what about the eye of wisdom? What about the sacred? We couldn't be treating people like we couldn't be treating the planet like we're treating it if we had a wisdom tradition. We couldn't have these kind of wars going on if the wisdom tradition in us was actually alive. Here's one thing to get down if you get nothing else about wisdom. Wisdom teachers and their traditions are life-giving. When you're in touch with a wisdom tradition, it doesn't matter which one. There's 8, 12 really old, really viable, authentic wisdom traditions in the world. But when to know about all of them is what interspirituality is. But then to find a way to go deeply in the tradition that is yours, that really resonates the most with you, that's key. And then that's getting this life that cannot be stamped out by empires, elections. And it also can't even be lost when this life form dies. Things go on beyond that, you see. Wisdom teachers, Jesus was one of them. Buddha was one of them. We'll explore others in the course of, our talks together, but the wisdom teacher has given you life. Jesus said, I came to give you life and give it to you in abundance. He wasn't giving them a bunch of rules. He wasn't excluding anybody. He included women as disciples, which was as radical as can be at that time. He considered them as equals in discipleship. How did they end up in the back pew, in the back of the bus? Certainly still in the Catholic Church. And in this culture, this Christian culture, women have less rights than men now. That wasn't, that's not the tradition, you see. So, all right, I think that's good enough for the talk. So thank you for listening to that.